There a countdown?
Yeah. Welcome back to PSTV5 Online. I'm Direk Rene. Good morning here in Aotearoa, New Zealand, and good evening to our guests all the way in Cambridge in the United Kingdom. Joseph, good evening. How are you, Joseph?
Good, Tito. Yep. It is a fairly sunny evening over here in Cambridge.
All right. Okay, so for context for people, how far is Cambridge from London, where you were earlier this week?
About 1.5 hours. It's a pretty efficient train ride.
So it's like Hamilton and Auckland,
Something like that, yeah.
something.
But, it's the UK probably has a bit more of that mass going north.
Okay. Yeah. Joseph, the reason why I wanted to touch base with you because middle of last year we had a Correro online and it was one of the top hits in in my online show, and you were back in Australia then, and talking about your journey as a barrister and then your journey to going to Cambridge. And now I'd like to congratulate you for achieving a master's in corporate law, your second master's degree from Cambridge University. Can you tell me a little bit about that journey to Cambridge? Because I understand there it's like what the top 1% or something that gets into that program.
Yeah, so solicitor, by the way, people. So let's,
Solicitor.
for the record, solicitor, not barrister. So, but
Okay.
anyway, so in terms of the journey, it was obviously a fairly standard beginning of the Bachelor of Laws, and then the Master of Laws, the initial Master's via the ANU, and then following that there was the application to Cambridge, that process, and the Master of Corporate Law program. That's right. It's something like the top 1% in the sense that the minimum admission standard essentially is usually first class degrees, and if you the percentage varies between countries essentially, but you generally find that you do find the top sort of 1% receiving admission offers over here to this program.
Were there any other from Australia who was with you in that program?
Yeah, so there were actually quite a few of us. There were four of us in total coming from Australia. There was one co-Brisbane person, also a lawyer in Brisbane. There was one from, actually there were two that were coming from Melbourne. There was one from Tasmania originally, but she did her education also in Melbourne. And so there were two people that were coming from Melbourne education.
Were there some anyone from the Philippines who was in the program?
I guess I was representative.
Oh, okay. Probably because it has something to do with the system of education. Because you arrived in Cambridge around September, was it, or October?
Yeah, so late September was my arrival time, and then the course commenced in early October. That's right.
And in a short span of time, because it's research based, you were able to finish it much ahead of the others.
Oh, well, no, it's not necessarily a matter of finishing ahead of the others. This was a 9-month designated program. So it was a coursework involving 6 major subjects. The major central subject was the legal and economic structure of corporate deals, and there was a year-long Master of Laws paper that we shared with the generalist Master of Laws people, which was the International Financial Law paper for me. And then there were specialist modules on corporate taxation, corporate governance, merger control, and shareholder litigation. And you could also pick, in terms of the modules between those ones and another two, law firm as a business and digital economy.
So while you were still in Australia, you were already doing the papers. Am I correct? Or was it in
No,
yet
so
to
it was
go?
all here. That's a peculiarity of the Cambridge system, which has, I suppose, it's kind of loosened throughout this interesting COVID year. Usually, Cambridge students are required to be residents in Cambridge for the duration of their studies here.
Mm.
And usually they're not allowed to have part-time jobs because they're meant to be focusing in on the, full-time
Oh.
studies.
Mm.
So it's kind of been relaxed
Mm-hmm.
this year because there have been people, especially following Michaelmas term, which is the first term, during the Christmas break, going back to their home countries, for example,
Mm-hmm.
and sort of getting stranded there because of the unexpected lockdown measures that got imposed.
So it's how big is your you call it a cohort or your batch?
Yeah, that's right.
How big? How big?
So the cohort is usually 25 people
Wow.
each year. Yeah. So this particular year, there were 26.
Wow, 25. Wow. So it's really the top of the top of the top in the world.
I presume so.
Earlier you were drinking something. Yeah, are you drinking coffee or tea?
It's a bit late for coffee. I'm just drinking some hot chocolate.
Ah, chocolate. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't need to sort of burn the midnight candle anymore.
So what time is it in Cambridge right now?
9:08 p.m. I just had
9:08
to
on a
visit
Friday.
my
On a
computer.
Friday. Oh yeah. Thank you so much. I know you're quite busy tidying up things. Are you coming back home to Australia?
Yeah, so in August, that's right. I have a flight booked,
Oh, okay.
and fingers crossed that there won't be any random positive COVID
Mm-hmm.
outcomes
Mm-hmm.
around me that sort of lock me down. But that's the plan.
Have you been vaccinated?
I'm actually scheduling my vaccination for this coming week.
Ah,
So the
okay.
first
So
shot, and
before
I hope to
before
be
you
able to get the
fly.
second shot, back in Australia probably.
Oh, okay. Okay. So what is it you're missing from Australia, Joseph?
There's a burger chain called Grilled. I don't know if you've dined there, but that's the when you ask me that question, that's what comes to mind. Grilled and family, of course.
What's the name? What's the name of the burger chain?
Grilled.
A grill. Is it in Brisbane?
In Australia, it's Australia wide. It's a
Ah,
national
Australian base.
chain.
Okay.
Good burgers. There's this thing called there's this chain here dedicated to burgers as well called Honest Burgers.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not the same as Grilled.
Mm. And I understand you are, I think, one of the rare persons that I know who has a triple citizenship. You have a Philippine passport, you're a Philippine citizen, you're a New Zealand citizen, and you're an Australian citizen. Am I correct, Joseph?
Yep, that's right.
And well, God forbid that all of these countries will get into war and you'll be have difficulty finding which one will be.
Yeah, well, that's definitely a God forbid kind of situation.
So, what do you miss about New Zealand? Because when was it you left New Zealand? When I think it was nearly 10 years ago. I think.
That's making me feel kind of old, people.
Yeah.
Hey, it might be
You
like
don't.
somewhere around 10 years. I remember I was about 14 or 15, around that age when we left from New Zealand to Australia.
And also a while back, you also were about to journey into the basketball world in the Philippines. You were already training for Ateneo, for the Gilas team, because you're quite tall, 6'1", 6'2", I think. And you play really, amazing basketball. I've seen you play during Labor Weekend. So, any regrets that didn't, eventuate? Because you're
I
flying
mean,
higher than the Eagles, than the Gilas now. You're much higher, soaring higher.
oh, different industries, different games, so to speak, different courts. I think I made that kind of quip when we last spoke, different courts. um, I think that I'm pretty content with the path that I've sort of taken. And at the end of the day, you look back and if you feel like you gave,
Mhm.
you put everything on the floor, I think that's a pretty big basketball adage. If you left everything out on the floor, and sort of maximize and did your best in everything you did. And, you know, you sort of made sure that you didn't close doors prematurely. You sort of feel content with the way that things are. And I'm quite at peace with, the way that things have turned out. I'm quite happy with the story that's been unfolding.
Where I just got a message on the chat box from your Lola,
Oh,
Tita Eleanor, saying good
Lola
morning and
L.
good luck to both of us. You're
Right.
in constant touch with Lola? With,
Well, yeah. I mean, she is a regular presence on Facebook, for real.
and I heard from your dad that you're coming home to New Zealand in December, and I hope to catch up with you when you guys come home for a visit in December.
That sounds about right because my
Yes,
cousin MM, shout out to MM, she is getting married.
getting married. I call her Erica, but she's MM to you, right?
Oh,
She's a nurse.
Eric coming up. That's right.
Joseph, so give me a typical like so you say it's a classroom based program. So what time do your classes normally start?
Yeah, well, it's been shifting. So at the start of the year during the Michaelmas term, there
Mm-hmm.
were so the way it was structured was that we had two full year courses, and so those sort of permeated throughout the three academic terms that we had. In addition to those, we had two modules in the Michaelmas and Lent terms. So the two module classes usually had weekly lectures, and if I recall correctly, kind of stretching my memory now, back in October, November, December, there was like one at 9 o'clock a.m., so fairly early in the morning, and the other one was probably in the afternoon around 1 p.m. And that was a fairly consistent schedule throughout the Michaelmas term. But towards the end of it, there was the UK lockdown,
Mm,
and that sort of, I guess, shuffled the program a little bit in the sense of like timetabling and scheduling. And a lot of our Lent term lectures ended up being via Microsoft Teams. So it was still live in the sense that we were engaging with lectures. But because we were not permitted to go outside of our usual circles, aside for coffee. This isn't coffee, but chocolate. uh, we were required to check in via team, and usually the schedules there were in accordance with the lecture schedules. So the lectures, there were a lot of them that were full-time academics here in Cambridge, but there are also a lot of guest lecturers who are coming in from a lot of the city firms over in London, especially
and
during our deals course.
oh, and so it was like you had classes in the morning and it was winter. So I guess the winters there are
You're bringing
quite
back
cold.
PTSD about the UK winter.
Mm, yeah.
It was cold. It was definitely cold. But New Zealand it was a throwback to New Zealand times, I think, in the sense that we were getting to like 0 degrees and those temperatures.
Mm. Yeah, and right now, New Zealand again is experiencing that kind of weather of 0 degrees. Some even in back in your hometown in Cambridge. Oh,
Yeah.
Cambridge, New Zealand to Cambridge, UK. I just reminded you. Any similarities, Joseph?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's green in the summer.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, During the winter, it was, the UK winter generally finds the trees all barren and devoid of leaves. But during the summer, I am sort of seeing
Mm.
town of trees vibes, right? That's a Cambridge town reference to it. It's like
Mm.
town of trees and gold medal champions. I think that's what Cambridge, New Zealand's slogan was.
But Cambridge, UK is what is known like is a university town. Is it? It's like a town that's built around the university. Uh,
Essentially,
mhm,
I think it's classified as a city. So Cambridge is a city in the
mhm,
sense that, it probably has the requisite population to be classified a city, but it does have that town feel, especially
mhm,
when you compare it with, for example, Oxford, which feels a little bit more like a city which has its own ecosystem in a
mhm,
sense, with the university just sort of featuring as part of that ecosystem. Whereas with Cambridge, it does feel like the entire city
Mm-hmm.
revolves around the university. You even go into sort of the Cambridge city center, and the Senate House and King's College is right in the middle, and that's sort of like it has that essence of the university is the center, the spirit
Mm-hmm.
of the city.
Which is older, Joseph? Is it Cambridge or Oxford in terms
Oxford
of
is the
like
older one. It's the
the
oldest in the English-speaking world, but I think that
oh,
Cambridge is, second to that. So 1200s with Cambridge, and Oxford was like the 1000s.
mm-hmm. And most of these illustrious politicians, businessmen have come from the halls of Cambridge, I guess, and Oxford. We've heard of people who are well known, who are what do you call this, graduated from Cambridge.
Mm.
Joseph, you know, you've always been studying. You finished high school at a very young age. I think your search for knowledge is, you keep on searching for knowledge and uplifting yourself, and at the same time, you enjoy doing it, and you inspire others. Your siblings, your family, your friends, your tito like me. If if I was just as young as you, I would take the same path. What is it in the learning, in the journey that you want to, or you cherish most, Joseph?
I think that a lot of it is the relationships that you form along the way. When you're talking about learning and pursuing enlightenment and knowledge and
Mm-hmm.
trying to build a tool set to be able to make a positive difference in the world, a lot of the time, you end up just by virtue of the fact that you're going in the same direction, meeting sort of like-minded people. And
Mm-hmm.
especially with this particular Master of Corporate Law degree, with our close-knit sort of set of 26, I think that the most valuable element and aspect of the experience has been the relationships with like-minded people, like-hearted people.
Mm-hmm.
And it's sort of that makes the journey worthwhile. It makes it a really memorable and just fun sort of journey, in that you're
Mm-hmm.
sharing experiences and you're sort of creating memories, and you can look back on these. I mean, there's of course there's the really blissful and the surreal experiences. There's also the sort of moments where you're feeling like you're in the trenches with the academic rigor over here. But all of these sort of come together and become a balance of timeless memories and timeless moments that you just feel grateful, that you've been a part of, and that you can cherish and take into your respective assignment in life, your respective walk in life. And I think that it's the friendships that we've formed throughout this degree uh, that serve as the most valuable aspect that I can point to.
Yes, because you will always look back to your batchmates, your classmates, your friends that you make along your academic journey, and then with the backdrop of the pandemic, parang it makes it more enriching and more, because once you graduate, so most of you will be going back to your different homelands and places, and you'll be making a difference. Is there an age gap? Is there an age limit to get into this program, Joseph?
There isn't an age limit, though. You see that the range of admissions this year, at least, it ranged from around, you're straight out of undergrad around 20,
Mm-hmm.
22, 23, around that age, through to about like mid 30s.
Mm-hmm.
So that's sort of the age range that we saw in admissions this year. It probably varies from year to year, though.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably your median range.
Mm. So that means the friendships that you've made with this group is going to be ongoing to the next 20, 30 years, 40 years. And
Oh yeah.
that's a lot of exciting times ahead for the world in terms of economy, in terms of the environment, culture, so many things. And I guess you guys will be at the forefront of this wave of enlightenment. In my poster, I use the caption "A man for all seasons." When I was a couple of years back, you and my dad, we were talking about about you and coming up with something creative, and we were toying with the idea. I'll just say it in Filipino. Parang we're toying with the idea na parang yung caption, Joseph Borja Erese. Tao ba yan? Parang ganun. Kasi you had so many achievements. Parang, is this so and so I said a man for all seasons. It's not from the movie, from the 1966 movie, but it's more of a person who is enlightened, a person who is seeking journey, seeking more enlightenment. Was there a connection between your or the first masters with what you're doing, or it's something like it's a totally new ball game?
It's a bit of a diversification. So with my initial master's at the Australian National University in Canberra, that was premised and centered around international law principles. So public international law, nation states. So, your treaties dealing with the ICJ and the International Court of Justice and, the World Trade Organization and, generally that element, that niche of law. Whereas with this particular master's, it's focused on corporate law, essentially private law. So dealing with, the private transactions, as I mentioned, the legal and economic structuring of corporate deals, and just the nuances of just business practice, corporate business practice. And it served as a diversification. There are obviously intersections and there are overlaps as far as merger control. There's international merger control, which was one module, and that dealt with the treaties that formulate, the EU's function. And obviously that kind of overlaps with the general, international law treaties. Though the emphasis in this particular degree is on private transactions. So that sort of just completes the set, so to speak, I guess, my toolkit as a lawyer.
Private transaction in a global perspective
Oh, yes. Yeah, that's right.
And I think that's how the world is moving. We're beyond globalization now. We're beyond being multinationals. We are gearing towards the pandemic has shown it that we have to really cooperate, and we have to very robust and strong bodies to make it through this pandemic, and so to make the economy. And I guess the corporate world is going to be different. It will be changing also with the major players, major states, the major countries. So it will no longer be just the normal players. There are big players coming in now, and big conglomerates. Those are things coming in, and it's going to be exciting times for you guys. And I guess having the groundings, the academic groundings, is going to be very, very, very good for you. So what's next after this, Joseph? Is I want you to relax first. You've been journeying for studying. Do you still play basketball, my friend?
I was hoping to be able to play some, get some hoops in over here in Cambridge, but the problem was that the gyms around here were closed because of the lockdown closure. So
Okay.
in the UK, the cases were pretty bad, especially during the latter half of last year and the start of this year. It's only just now opening up. I'm gonna try and get some hoops in over this next month, essentially, because there is a reopening of a lot of places. The restaurants and the regular establishments are opening up. That's pretty optimistic, for local businesses. It's probably been really tough for local businesses during this pandemic time because of just the reduced foot traffic and just the inability to sort of meet your expenses and overhead, right? But anyway, going back to basketball, I was hoping to be able to get some shots in, but haven't been able to yet. I would have liked to be have been able to do things like, I don't know, play against Oxford or whatever. But unfortunately, the pandemic sort of frustrated that a little bit.
Oh, I see. Here in New Zealand, they are starting they call it the National Tertiary Championship. So I don't know if it was there. It was before there was something like that, but they're starting it this year. So there are teams from Victoria, from Massey, Auckland. So it's like a UAAP type of tournament. They call it
Sounds
National
cool.
Tertiary Championship for both male and female in basketball. So I think it's gonna be in Palmerston North. I think this what's this this September. Have you met other Filipinos in Cambridge? Not necessarily studying at with
In
your
corporate
cohort.
law. Yes, I
Mm-hmm.
have. There is, and I'm going to shout it out. So the Cambridge University Filipino Society. There is a society. So
Oh.
there's, I have met up with them a couple of times, and yeah, we did a picnic tayo, and yeah, like it's a good vibe. It feels like a familiar energy,
Mm-hmm.
in I guess a new sort of place.
So there are
So
Filipinos based in the UK.
yeah, so Filipinos based in the well, I mean, some
Mm.
are from the Philippines.
Internationals. Oh,
Yeah,
international
some
students.
are
Good.
directly from the Philippines, from the
Mm.
motherland.
Mm.
There is at least I know at least one that is from Canada and
Mm.
one that's also from Australia.
Mm. Hmm. It's nice to it has a nice ring to it. Cambridge University. What do you call it?
Yeah, the
Cambridge
Cambridge University Filipino Society.
Filipino Society. Oh.
Yeah, yeah. So that's a cool thing. That I only discovered that actually during Easter term. So that was in the latter half of my academic year. But
Mhm.
yeah, it's just really cool, sort of being able to connect, especially
Mm.
in a very different environment from
Mm.
where we usually find our country people. Yeah.
In your when you were in London or there in Cambridge, are there Filipino restaurants or Filipino shops in the area?
Well, a friend
Have
of
you?
mine has been helping me out with Filipino food, so keeping me familiar with Filipino food. So there are stores around here
Mhm.
that sell Filipino ingredients, probably
Okay.
lumped together with other Asian sort of food
Oh
ingredients.
yes. Uh-huh. Hmm.
Yeah, and
But
in London, I presume
mhm.
that there are restaurants. I have heard from a friend that I met up with who's also a Filipina
Mhm.
family connection that there's actually, like I think a suburb or somewhere that has a couple of Filipino establishments
Oh, I see.
over in
Okay.
London. But London's a big place, so
Yeah.
like
Hmm.
I'd expect that. And oh, there's a Jollibee. There's a Jollibee in London. Two of them.
There's a
There's a
two.
Jollibee.
There's
Yeah,
two Jollibees.
there's two
Wow.
Jollibees in London. So I haven't dined there yet, but I will.
Are you going back to London again for another
For
visit?
Jollibee. Yeah, of course.
For Jollibee? Yeah, I think I saw it in one of the papers back in Manila that they just opened it. I think late last year, or it's a new thing, or was it in Canada? Well, Jollibee is always like it's not the national burger, but more or less it's sort of unofficially ang pambansang burger is
People's
Jollibee.
choice.
People's choice.
It
So
lives in people's.
you're back in Brisbane by August, God willing, and
Yep.
then see you in December, and let's have some catch up, some coffee, and when you fly over to New Zealand.
Yep.
And basically, any other plans for? Are you gonna pursue a doctorate degree or tigil na muna yung aral?
I mean, I won't shut the door on a doctorate degree down the line, but at this point, it's tigil sounds like stop. I think
Mm,
that break is a more
yeah.
accurate word.
Very well said, Joseph.
Yeah.
I'm always inspired and uplifted by you, and I guess a lot of people are looking at you as a role model for someone who is passionate about so many things, but still focusing on whatever it is that there may be so many things, but when you do something, you're really focused in doing it. And I'm sure mom and dad and your sister are so proud, and Tita Ellen and your whole family are so proud of what you have accomplished from sports to academe to your career as a lawyer. So what is the difference between barrister is like a solicitor is corporate law, barrister is like the legal law. Para legal law, parang ganun. Criminal law.
I think the energy is okay there, Tito. Yeah, the energy is about right. Look, so it depends on the jurisdiction. So in the USA, for example, there is no distinction. It's just attorneys. Philippines is similar, just attorneys. Whereas, in the Commonwealth countries, though not so much in India, as I've learned from my Indian friends in this cohort, but for example, in the UK and Australia and New Zealand, though New Zealand, it's blurring the line as well. But anyway, so UK and Australia, barrister is generally the sort of courtroom advocate, wearing the wigs, the gowns, trial. And the solicitor usually, in context of litigation, is instructing. And in context of corporate transactions, is the go-to person. So if you're talking about like the functions, you could do a crude comparison of the roles to, for example, GPs in terms of the medical profession. The GPs are like solicitors that are client-facing, patient-facing, and then, if necessary, the barristers are similar, for example, to the surgeons. It's a crude sort of comparison, but there's a referral from the solicitor/GP up to the barrister/surgeon. So that's sort of a quick, in the nutshell analogy.
Mahaba na buhok mo. Yung long hair na.
Pandemic look.
Pandemic look. Do you still have that, yung meron pa rin yung buntot? You still have that? That's the trademark of you and your dad. Nandiyan pa rin.
Pero it seems to be more subtle now because of the longer hair, right? It's like...
yes. Oo.
Yeah. It's kind of a little bit more subtle.
Yeah. Well, Joseph, thank you so much for spending your Friday evening with us and sharing with us your journey in Cambridge. We look forward to see you and to hear your achievements and the things that you'll be doing in the next couple of months. And any message you'd like to give to our listeners, to our viewers, especially those who are struggling to study and or just struggling with whatever it is they're doing.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I guess that the main thing would be that it's important to recognize that we've just been through a hell of a year. As far as the pandemic and the lockdowns, it's been unprecedented, it's been historical, it's been characterized by adversity and the need to adapt. And I think that what's important as far as, keeping yourself going is to sort of be kind to yourself, understand that everybody's sort of had it tough. Everybody's got their struggles. And at the end of the day, you should sort of just keep at it, believe in yourself, keep on keeping at it. And, look at your family, look at your friends. They're going through their own unique struggles, their own unique adversities. And, if you're really feeling it, you should do your best to lean into the people that care about you, that you care about, and we can do this together.
Maraming salamat, Joseph Borja Erese, all the way from Cambridge in the UK. Thank you very much for sharing your Cambridge journey. And we look forward to hear from you and see you in the coming months. All the best. God bless, Joseph. And mga kaibigan, I'd like to thank you also for spending your Saturday morning here in Aotearoa, New Zealand with Joseph and me. I'm Direct Rene for Peace TV 5 Online. Thank you, take care, and God bless.